The sharp scent of disinfectant and burnt coffee hung in the air as the early morning rush at Terminal C turned into organized chaos. The line at the TSA checkpoint snaked back toward the escalators, a restless mix of tourists, business travelers, and overtired families. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, reflecting off the cold linoleum floor. Ethan Cole shifted his weight from one foot to the other, clutching his laptop bag and boarding pass. He'd been up since 4 a.m., running on caffeine and willpower, determined to make his flight to Denver for a client meeting that could save his small cybersecurity firm. Behind him, a toddler cried. Ahead, someone argued about removing their belt. It was typical airport disorder, tedious but predictable. That predictability shattered with a single sharp voice slicing through the murmur of the crowd. "Excuse me, I'm not waiting in this line." Heads turned. The voice belonged to a woman in a blindingly pink floral blouse and crisp white pants, her oversized handbag swinging like a weapon. She marched past weary passengers, heels clicking with authority. Ethan watched her approach the front as though she owned the place. A ripple of disbelief followed her progress, an unspoken understanding that something obnoxious was unfolding. The TSA officer at the front, a broad-shouldered man named Daniels, stepped forward. "Ma'am, please return to the end of the line." She flashed a laminated tag with a flourish. "I have priority access. I don't need to wait with everyone else." Her eyes swept the crowd like an insult. "That tag is for boarding, not security," Daniels replied calmly. "You still have to wait your turn." Linda's lip curled. "Do you know who I am?" Ethan exhaled through his nose, jaw tightening. He'd heard that line before in boardrooms in restaurants, from people who believed rules were for others. Daniels didn't flinch. The crowd watched, hungry for confrontation. "I'm sorry, ma'am," Daniel said. "Please step back." Linda's volume rose with every word. "This is ridiculous. I have a connecting flight. Do you expect me to miss it because you can't manage a line properly?" Someone in the queue pulled out their phone, pretending to text but clearly recording. The soft electronic click of a camera app echoed. The moment had become entertainment. Ethan adjusted his bag strap, glancing toward the elderly woman in front of him, a frail figure leaning heavily on a cane. Linda brushed past her without so much as an apology, knocking the woman slightly off balance. Instinctively, Ethan reached forward, steadying her elbow. "You all right?" he asked quietly. The old woman nodded, whispering. "Some people forget their manners when they pack their luggage." Ethan straightened, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. "Hey," he called out, voice firm but even. "There's a line for a reason." Linda spun around, eyes flashing. "Mind your business." "It becomes my business when you nearly knock someone over," he said. She laughed, sharp and dismissive. "You think you're the line police? Don't mansplain airport etiquette to me." A few people chuckled softly. Daniels stepped closer again, now visibly annoyed. "Ma'am, this is your final warning." Linda folded her arms, unmoved. "Fine. Get me your supervisor. I'll have your job for this." Daniels sighed and signaled to a second officer. The crowd shifted, murmuring. Ethan could feel the collective impatience tightening like a rope. Everyone just wanted to move, to get through, to board their flights, but no one could look away. The supervisor arrived moments later, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and the tone of someone who had handled one too many airport tantrums. "What seems to be the issue here?" Linda wasted no time twisting the narrative. "Your officer has been rude and unprofessional. I have priority status, and he's refusing to accommodate me. This is harassment." The supervisor's expression didn't change. "Priority boarding does not apply to TSA security. Please return to the line." Linda started filming herself, turning the camera toward her face. "See this? They're discriminating against me for traveling first class." Ethan blinked in disbelief. She was turning her own humiliation into performance. "You can't be serious," he muttered, just loud enough for her to hear. Her phone swung toward him. "This man's been harassing me too. You all saw it." "No one saw that," Ethan replied, voice clipped. "Everyone saw you cut the line." Danielle's patience snapped. "Ma'am, You can either step aside or you'll be escorted out of the terminal. The crowd murmured approval. Someone clapped once, half-jokingly. Linda hesitated, her confidence faltering for a brief, telling second. But the supervisor, perhaps unwilling to ignite a full-blown scene, intervened. "Ma'am," she said carefully, "why don't we step aside over here and talk?" Linda seized on it like a victory. Finally, someone reasonable. She shot Ethan a smug smile before following the supervisor to a side area near the conveyor belts. The line began to move again, slow but steady. The tension released slightly, but not for Ethan. Watching Linda's triumphant posture as she bypassed 100 people left a bitter taste. Daniels caught his eye and gave a subtle shake of the head, silently telling him to let it go. He wanted to. He wanted to forget the whole thing, to get through security, buy a coffee, and move on with his day. But the injustice of it burned. When Ethan finally reached the scanner, he placed his bag on the conveyor and stepped through the body scanner. Behind him, a camera flash went off, someone capturing a photo of Linda smirking beside the supervisor, phone still in hand like a trophy. She caught his gaze across the lane and raised an eyebrow, almost daring him to challenge her again. He didn't speak, but the look he gave her said everything. Someday, somehow, this arrogance would catch up with her. As he retrieved his shoes and laptop, the intercom above crackled. "Attention all passengers. Due to increased screening procedures, please remain patient and follow staff instructions." A soft ripple of irony passed through the crowd. Ethan slipped his boarding pass into his pocket and walked toward his gate, glancing once more toward the commotion behind him. Linda was still arguing, her voice sharp and bright against the mechanical whir of the conveyor belts. The flashing phone camera caught her mid-gesture, finger pointed, mouth open, a perfect snapshot of defiance. Someone nearby whispered, "This is going to be all over TikTok by lunch." Ethan allowed himself a quiet laugh, the first of the morning. Maybe justice didn't always come through confrontation. Sometimes it came through cameras, witnesses, and the internet's unblinking eye. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. As he turned toward the gate, the sound of Linda's voice echoed faintly behind him, sharp and self-righteous, like static he couldn't quite tune out. He didn't know it yet, but before the day was over, that voice, and everything it stood for, would come crashing down in front of millions. The scent of jet fuel clung to the air near Gate 42 as Ethan sank into a chair, finally past security, but still simmering from what he'd witnessed. The buzz of boarding announcements filled the terminal, yet his thoughts replayed that single scene like a looping video. The smug curve of Linda's smile, the self-righteous tilt of her chin. He wanted to forget her, to bury the irritation beneath noise and motion, but her voice echoed every time the loudspeaker crackled. He pulled out his phone, scrolling absently through the news feed, and froze. There she was, Linda, in that same pink floral blouse, waving her priority tag at the TSA officer. The video was everywhere. Someone had uploaded it with a caption, "Karen tries to skip security line, gets owned by TSA." The thumbnail showed her mid-yell, face twisted with outrage. Ethan felt a bitter satisfaction rise in his chest. Justice, it seemed, was already in motion. But then he clicked on the comments. Beneath the laughter and memes, he noticed something unsettling. A newer post from Linda herself. The video was reversed. Her version claimed harassment, portraying herself as the victim of unfair treatment by TSA and an aggressive man in line. That man, Ethan realized with a sinking feeling, was him. In her clip, his brief exchange had been edited. His calm, "there's a line for a reason," cut to make him appear confrontational. The internet was running wild. Strangers were defending her, others attacking. But Ethan's face was now part of the chaos. His phone buzzed with a text from his friend Mark. "Bro, you're viral. That's you in the airport video, right?" Ethan hesitated. "Unfortunately, yeah." Mark sent a laughing emoji. "Man, you look like you're about to snap. Half the comments think you're some angry passenger." Ethan leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "She's twisting the whole thing. She edited the footage. So post the real version." "It's not that simple," Ethan muttered. Once something caught fire online, truth rarely caught up. He opened the trending page again, Hashtag line cutter Karen, hashtag TSA harassment, and even hashtag angry airport guy. His face was attached to that last one. Across the terminal, a familiar laugh rang out. He looked up. Linda stood by the gate counter, animated and loud, recounting her ordeal to anyone within earshot. They treated me like a criminal, she said, shaking her head dramatically. All because I dared to stand up for myself. A few people nodded politely. Others pretended to listen. Her phone was propped against her coffee cup, streaming live. My followers deserve to know the truth, she announced, her voice projecting over the low airport hum. Ethan clenched his jaw. She was performing, turning her tantrum into content. He caught snippets of her monologue. He lunged at me. TSA was rude. It was humiliating. Each word felt like another twist of the knife. He opened the comments on her live stream. Thousands of viewers. Some supportive, others skeptical. One username caught his eye at Real Witness 37. That's not what happened. I was there. Another at Airport Guy Defender. She shoved an old lady. Threads began to fill with conflicting stories. The digital tide was shifting, but only slightly. Ethan took a deep breath. He couldn't let her rewrite reality. He scrolled through his camera roll. His phone hadn't been out during the confrontation, but he remembered the man behind him. The one recording discreetly. The video circulating online had that same angle. Maybe the man had uploaded it first. Maybe Ethan could track it down. He followed the original poster's account. It led to a username at Travel Truths. He sent a quick message. Hey, I'm the guy from your TSA video. Do you still have the full version? She's using a clipped edit to lie. Minutes later, a reply blinked onto the screen. Got the raw footage. Everything from start to finish. Want it? Ethan's pulse quickened. Yes. Please send it. A file appeared seconds later, a larger, unedited clip. It showed everything. Linda pushing ahead, knocking the elderly woman, yelling at TSA. And then Ethan's brief, composed response. No aggression, just decency. He exhaled, relief mixing with resolve. It wasn't about revenge now. It was about clarity. He uploaded the clip privately, tagged TSA's official account, and wrote a single caption. Context matters. For a few moments, nothing happened. Then the notifications exploded. The truth had entered the bloodstream of the internet. Comments poured in faster than he could read them. She lied. This is the full video. Hashtag karma incoming. The balance began to tilt. Within an hour, his inbox filled with requests, small news accounts, airport meme pages, even a morning show producer asking for a statement. Ethan ignored them all. He didn't need fame. He just wanted honesty restored. Across the terminal, Linda was still on her phone when the murmurs began. She noticed people glancing at her, whispering. Her smile faltered. She checked her notifications, eyes narrowing as she scrolled. Then her expression shifted. Shock, disbelief, and a flicker of panic. Ethan watched her pace, gesturing wildly, muttering under her breath. For the first time that morning, she looked unsure of herself. A TSA agent approached her quietly. Officer Daniels. Ethan recognized him instantly. He leaned in, speaking low, professional but firm. Linda's voice rose again, but this time there was no confidence, only desperation. You people are trying to ruin me, she said, gesturing at her phone. That man doctored the footage. He's obsessed. Daniels shook his head. The footage came from multiple witnesses. And we've reviewed our own security video. You might want to stop talking before you make this worse. The words hit like a gavel. Ethan couldn't hear her response, but her face said enough, red, trembling, humiliated. She turned away from the gate, walking briskly toward a corner, clutching her bag like a shield. He almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then his phone buzzed again, another text from Mark. Bro, your post just hit 500K views. She's finished. Ethan typed back, I didn't post it to finish her, just to fix the truth. Mark replied, yeah, but the internet doesn't care about balance. They care about justice. And they're giving it to her in full HD. Ethan looked up. Linda was arguing again, this time with someone on her phone. her voice high, frantic. He caught snippets. Sponsors, misunderstanding, damage control. Her influencer facade was cracking, each word more frantic than the last. He pocketed his phone, the hum of revenge replaced by quiet satisfaction. He hadn't shouted. He hadn't retaliated. The truth had done the work for him. As his boarding group was called, Ethan rose, casting one last glance toward the corner where Linda stood, half hidden behind a column, tears smudging her mascara as she scrolled through the avalanche of comments. He walked toward the gate, the echo of his footsteps steady and sure. Behind him, the terminal buzzed with murmured laughter, the collective energy of strangers witnessing poetic balance in motion. Still, something told him the story wasn't done. Not yet. The internet had delivered its verdict, but life, he knew, had a way of adding its own final twist. And for Linda, that twist was still waiting beyond the next boarding call. The next morning, the terminal buzzed with its usual blend of exhaustion and impatience, but beneath the hum of rolling luggage and distant announcements, there was an undercurrent of gossip. People whispered, phones in hand, screens lit with the same viral clip that had now crossed 1 million views. The woman in the pink floral blouse had become an online pariah overnight. Her name, once irrelevant, was now synonymous with arrogance, and she was about to face the full weight of her own performance. Linda strode through the automatic doors of the airport with sunglasses large enough to hide half her face. The click of her heels seemed sharper today, faster, almost nervous. She clutched her handbag like a lifeline, the fabric stretched tight around her knuckles. The video's fallout had been immediate, brand partnerships suspended, hateful comments flooding her page, and an inbox overflowing with public backlash. She told herself it would blow over. It always did. Her followers would forgive her once she explained, once she took control of the story again. She straightened her posture, pasted on a fragile smile, and walked toward the same security checkpoint she had dominated the day before. A few people in line recognized her immediately. A whisper rippled through the crowd, followed by the faint hum of camera shutters. Linda's chest tightened. She pulled her phone from her bag and angled it discreetly, trying to pretend the eyes on her didn't matter. Next, called a familiar voice. Officer Daniels stood by the conveyor belt, calm and professional, but there was something different in his eyes, a trace of recognition and restrained amusement. He gestured toward the screening area. "Ma'am, please step forward." She hesitated, offering a brittle smile. "I'm sure you've seen the nonsense online," she began. "It's completely blown out of proportion." Daniels nodded once. "We're aware of the footage, yes." He tapped on his tablet. "You've been selected for additional screening today. Randomly." Her stomach dropped. "You can't be serious." "Completely routine," he said, though the corner of his mouth twitched. "Right this way, please." The crowd parted, a mix of curiosity and quiet satisfaction on their faces. Linda tried to keep her head high as she was guided toward the secondary inspection area. The fluorescent lights felt harsher today, the air colder. She placed her bag on the metal table, forcing a polite laugh. "I'm sure this is just protocol. No hard feelings, right?" Daniels didn't respond. He motioned for another agent to begin the inspection. They opened her handbag carefully, removing items one by one: perfume, tablet, charger, passport. The mundane contents looked oddly incriminating under the sterile light. "Ma'am," said the second officer, holding up a large perfume bottle, "this exceeds the liquid allowance." Linda blinked. "It's designer. It was fine yesterday." "It's not fine today," Daniels replied evenly. He dropped the bottle into the disposal bin without ceremony. The sharp clink echoed across the checkpoint. "That's ridiculous," she snapped, her voice rising despite herself. "You're just doing this to humiliate me." Daniels looked up from his checklist. "We're following TSA regulations, ma'am. You're familiar with those, I'm sure." Several passengers behind the rope stifled laughter. One whispered, "That's her, right? The one from the video." Another raised their phone, recording discreetly. Linda turned away, her face flushing red beneath the makeup. "You can't record me," she barked, but the command came out shaky, almost pleading. The officers ignored the chaos. Daniels handed her belongings back, minus the confiscated items. "You're clear to proceed," he said. "Have a safe flight." Her hands trembled as she zipped her bag. The line had stopped entirely now, all eyes fixed on her. She could feel every stare, every judgment pressing down like a physical weight. For the first time, the power she had always carried, the certainty that she could talk her way out of anything, was gone. A few feet away, seated at a cafe near the gate, Ethan Cole watched the scene unfold with quiet composure. He hadn't come here for revenge. He was simply catching his connection home. But fate, it seemed, had a sense of humor. Through the glass partition, he saw her arguing with a TSA supervisor, her gestures sharp and panicked. He sipped his coffee, calm, detached. A man beside him glanced up from his own phone, smirking. "Isn't that the woman from the viral video?" Ethan nodded slightly. "Yeah, looks like she's getting another round of security clearance." The man chuckled. "Karma travels fast." Ethan smiled faintly. "Sometimes it doesn't even need a ticket." Across the terminal, Linda's voice grew louder. "You're all enjoying this, aren't you? You think I deserve it." No one answered. Cameras flashed again. The supervisor, maintaining composure, said something Ethan couldn't hear, but he saw the woman's face crumble. Her shoulders slumped. The fight was draining out of her. When the officers finally allowed her to move on, she shuffled toward the gate, clutching her now half-empty bag. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, but she didn't check it. The energy that once made her larger than life had deflated. She sank into a seat near the window, head bowed, sunglasses hiding what little pride she had left. Ethan gathered his things as his flight began boarding. As he passed, he caught her reflection in the glass, her face pale, expression hollow. For a fleeting moment, he almost felt pity. But the memory of her arrogance, her cruel dismissiveness toward others, tempered it. Actions had consequences, and hers had simply come with interest. His phone buzzed again. Mark had sent another message. "Your video hit 1 million views. News outlets are talking about it. You're officially the guy who stood up to Airport Karen." Ethan typed back, "Let's hope they remember the truth more than the drama." "Yeah," came the reply. "But either way, you won." As he walked down the jet bridge, the dull roar of the engines filling his ears, Ethan glanced back one last time. Through the glass, he could see Linda still sitting there, frozen in the same seat, her phone screen lighting her face in cold blue light. Each notification was another reminder that the internet never forgets. He boarded, found his seat, and fastened his belt. Outside, the airport lights blurred into gold streaks as the plane prepared to taxi. He closed his eyes, exhaling slowly. The world had balanced itself in a way no argument could have achieved. Back in the terminal, Linda's phone buzzed again, an email from her management agency. "Due to recent events, we are terminating your contract effective immediately." She stared at the screen, unable to move, unable to speak. Around her, travelers came and went, indifferent to her unraveling. For the first time, there were no cameras to control the narrative, no audience to applaud. Just silence. Somewhere above the clouds, Ethan's plane lifted into the night sky, engines humming steadily. He leaned back and watched the city lights fade beneath him. Justice, he thought, didn't always shout. Sometimes it whispered through timing and truth. And far below, in that same fluorescent terminal, Linda sat under the glow of 1,000 screens, realizing the world had finally moved on without her.